Welcome to the 85th edition of the Sales Podcast. On your marks, get set, sleep. Welcome, my friends, to the 85th edition of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Mr. Jeff Giagnocavo. I met Jeff in April of 2014 at the Infusionsoft Icon Conference. Had dinner with him and Casey Graham and a few other entrepreneurs. And what Jeff is doing in his industry, the mattress industry, is quite amazing. He has mastered a couple of things really well. And because of that, he is selling at prices 5 times higher than his industry. So he is beating the pants off of his competition with these couple little things. He's talking about having a 70% close rate on the first visit and getting 40% of the 30% remainers, right, to buy on the second visit. So those are astronomical numbers in any industry. When you consider how expensive these beds are, this item, this is not, he's not selling hot dogs, right? He's not selling pizza. People are spending thousands of dollars, and they're spending 5 times more, and he's still closing 70% on the first visit. So you will want to pay attention to this interview. So with that in mind, since we're talking about sleeping and, mattresses, today's humor is about an accountant that was having a hard time sleeping. He went to see his doctor and he said, "Hey, doc, I just can't sleep at night." And the doctor said, "Have you tried counting sheep?" The accountant said, "Of course I have, but then I make a mistake and I spend 3 hours trying to find it." That's funny right there. It's clean too. So, hey, clean ones you can use over and over again. So with that in mind, let's shift right on over to the Sales Podcast Creed, which is today is my day. I work diligently towards my goals, which are bigger than me. I bite off more than I can chew because only then will I truly know my current limits, and surpassing them becomes my new goal for today. Through education, accountability partners, and bold, decisive action, today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better yet. I'm ready to produce. Now let's bring on Jeff. Jeff Giagnocavo, fellow Infusionsoft user, Dan Kennedy follower, friend of Casey Graham's, all the way from Pennsylvania, man. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. Thank you. Glad to be here all the way from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Goodness gracious. I've been to Philly. I think that's about it. So at least I've been to your state.
That's right. Did you get cheesesteak or a pretzel?
I eat everything everywhere I go, so I probably had 3 of both, even if I was only there like a day. I mean, that's how I roll. But, all right, so it brings up a question. So in Philly, do they call it a Philly cheesesteak, or is it just a cheesesteak?
Just a cheesesteak, yeah. It might be Philly style, and that means with whiz cheese or without, or if you're from the area, with whiz or without.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you can have a cheesesteak without cheese? Is that what you're saying? Or
no.
Type of cheese?
No, it's with the cheese. So, your provolone, your mozzarella. But then we go to the next level and put cheese whiz on top of it.
Oh, cheese whiz. Gotcha.
Yes.
That's like out here in California when you have we have In-N-Out. And,
I'm familiar.
You can get your fries animal style.
That's the only way to go.
There you go. So you got to dump the extras on it. So, hey, that's a little insider scoop for our listeners.
Yes.
You travel to Philly or you come to SoCal, you know what food to order.
That's right. That's right. You ain't living unless you have animal style fries at In-N-Out.
There you go. All right, man. So for our listeners that may not know who you are, would you mind taking a minute or two, give us kind of a lowdown on you, and we'll jump into the meat of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Wes said, Jeff Giagnocavo, I am part owner with my business partner, Ben McClure of Gardner's Mattress & More. And in a nutshell, we help people wake up happy and pain-free. We sell mattresses that help you sleep great, be more productive, and live a very happy and healthy life. There's a lot of power in sleep and a lot of benefits that come from it. And we're as we say, we're the anti-mattress store. When we're talking in our marketing and sales circle of friends, we're kind of the anti-mattress store. If you've ever bought a mattress, you've likely done it based on price, and you go in and the sales presentation is very sloppy. And, typically people just view that purchase like kind of buying car tires. It's something they need to do. They want to get it over as fast as possible, which is shameful because, we all know we sleep 6 to 8 hours a day, and that's a third of your life. And it's something that, our customers tend to look forward to once they've gotten into our world, and they really rather enjoy the purchase. And so we're the anti-mattress store because we just do everything the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing in our business. So from the advertising to the promotion to the marketing to the websites, the sales process, even down to merchandise, we try to find different and unique things that people could want and that we can sell to them.
So, and that's why I want to have you on the show. I mean, hanging out with you at dinner, and you just came across as just a great entrepreneur. I mean, and the things you're doing, we hear a lot from Dan Kennedy, but you know what? There's a ton of people. You've probably done this for others. You opened up the kimono, right? Show people what to do, and they still won't go do it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
you and your partner are doing it. So, how did you get into the mattress business, first of all? And then let's talk about actually implementing this anti-marketing kind of concept.
Yeah. So it's a long story, but I'll keep it short because we want to certainly make the show interesting for everybody. So I've always been a sales guy. I've had about a year and a half to 2 years of W-2 employment in my life, and that was for a building products company. Long story short, I was their fastest sales manager and youngest sales manager in the company history. And this is in 2002. They came to me and said, January of that year, hey, we want to go after Lowe's, Home Depot, the big business. And I said, are you sure? You're a company, you don't like to work on low margins, and that's kind of where that business ends up going. And they said, yeah, we're good. We got it. It'll be a great promotion, great opportunity. I said, okay, great. As long as you're willing to put this on paper and we all set the parameters, I'm willing to do it. So we did it. 6 months later, hey, we don't want to do it. Margins are too low. We want to serve the independent contractor through our warehouses. Okay, great. Well, the problem was they took me from being an inside cat when I started in inside sales to being like a top dog outside cat, and they didn't have those positions anymore. They'd been filled.
Right.
And so I was like not going back inside. So I just started looking around, and I came across a newspaper ad, and I still remember a little 1-inch by 1-inch ad, sales/service rep. Call this name, this number, and I did, and called the gentleman who eventually became my business partner. And what that was is to work in the furniture and mattress business for the factories selling to the retailers. So it was very congruent with what I was doing in building products. And I had a very nice, from 2002 to summer of last year, I was in the wholesale furniture and mattress side of the business, working with factories, helping create new products, bring them to market, and sell them to retailers. 5 years ago, I got involved in the direct response marketing world and paying attention to some of the greats, Bill Glazer, Dan Kennedy, all these guys that are in that world, and said, this is great, man. My retailers need to know about this. And I took it to them. I studied it, took it to them, and said, hey, let's try this idea. Let's work on doing this. And it was just met with, you know what, that's not going to work, Jeff. I don't know. I don't know if you know, but retail is different than wholesale, and my business is different. It's too expensive, and just this nonsense of answers. So I kept plugging away at it, kept growing my wholesale business. And as I got these ideas, I just kind of put them in a little binder, and the binder grew over time. And Gardeners was a customer of mine for years. And they came to me and said, there's an opportunity for you to partner into the business. Would you be open to doing that? And, it wasn't like an immediate jump out of my chair, yes, but it was pretty close to that. And it was close to that because of all that I'd been studying and learning for about 3 years prior. And so that's how I got into it. It was kind of an evolution. But when the opportunity presented itself, I had this like mega thick, juicy binder of marketing ideas and concepts. And that was the strength that my business partner saw in me to bring to the table. So I jumped on it, and that was 3 years ago. And here we are sitting with store number 2 open, looking at store number 3 to be open here soon by the end of the year. We've got a business helping other retailers do what we do. So it's been a wild ride.
So you were presenting these ideas. Is that what you think enticed Ben to invite you on as a partner?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I had invited a lot of my dealers to go to like local monthly marketing meetings, with me. And because at the time I wasn't a retailer, I was their manufacturer's rep. I was their contact to the factory. And I said, hey, I'm checking out this room every month. It's a bunch of great business owners. It's not just mattress focused, which is nice because you get some new ideas, some fresh perspectives, and you should come with me. And I had Ben and Jim, the former owner of Gardner's, take me up on that. And I had one other retailer in Wilmington, Delaware, take me up on that. And that was it. And I had at one point, my dealer base list was over 450 dealers.
Wow. Are they all kicking themselves in the butt now?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, not to sound arrogant, but yeah, I mean, here we are, we're lighting the world on fire. We're selling, $10, $20, $30,000 mattresses. Our average ticket's 5 times that of the industry. We have close rates that approach near 70% on the first visit, and then the 30% that don't buy, we're getting about 40% of them people back in the store to buy. So they're seeing all these great things that they could have had for free. They could have had me working on their business with them because I would help grow their business, which would help grow my paycheck, right, as a commissioned manufacturer's rep. But now if they want that information, now they gotta pay for it now.
There you go.
So
let's talk about selling at a higher price, because everybody needs to know that. And, being from the Dan Kennedy world as well, I mean, he's always talking about, raise your price, like take your price, add a 0 to it, not after the decimal point either.
Right.
So,
yeah. Nobody splits pennies anymore.
So how did you do that, and how can our listeners do that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a long answer, but I'll try to keep it as short and just jump in if I'm getting too long, Wes.
Okay.
It boils down to just simply add a 0. I guess you can do that. But for me, it boils down to what's your process and who are you and what's your value. When I started out, I said, we help people wake up happy and pain free. And when I'm in like a networking setting or a dinner setting, like where you and I met, that's what I say. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that's cool. What are you, like a doctor? You a sleep doctor? What do you do? And I'm like, no, I sell mattresses. And it's right from go that you have to differentiate yourself and communicate the value that you bring to your client, your prospects, your customers. From there, it's what's that in-store, in-person, in-visit experience like? What are your people saying? How are they saying it? When are they saying it? And then it's ultimately what you deliver. And this is where it is. This is where I kind of disagree with it. Just put a 0 on it, because if you're not delivering really good stuff, you could put 5 zeros on it and it ain't going to change anything, right? You've got to deliver really, really good things and do good work and follow up on all that stuff you communicate ahead of time. So when it comes down to raising your prices, yeah, you can do it, and you can certainly add that 0, and that'll work for a given period of time. But you got to look at the other things in front of it, how you acquire, what the process is like. And for us, that single biggest thing is the process. We have a pretty unique sales choreography that we use and employ, and we get it covered. I would say 9 times out of 10, our guys are hitting all those steps we want covered, and that's what points to that premium sale.
Oh, my gosh. You mean there's a script and a choreography? I can't just shoot from the hip. When I have a script, I just don't feel natural, and I feel stifled. Come on, Jeff. You are such an onerous boss. What a tyrant.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's horrible, isn't it? Just absolutely horrible.
So do your salespeople, they initially push back, and now they're like, okay, this works, I'll listen? I mean, because that had to be a change, right? When you come in, I got to imagine Ben and them weren't choreographing their sales, were they?
Right, they weren't. And, and truth be told, for the first year that I was here, we weren't either. There were certain things we wanted covered, but it wasn't a process. And it certainly wasn't anything that looked like a script. But now it is. And it took some buy-in. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, that we trained it and immediately everybody started using it. And where we learned as the business owners in that process was we allowed our staff to inject their personality into it, but the main points, which are 27 pointed questions throughout the presentation, they need to be discussed, because when they're not, we end up with a disappointed customer, and we as the owners end up with a sales ticket that wasn't maximized. And for the salesperson, they end up with a smaller paycheck.
Right.
And that's reason number one for them that they should be paying attention to this. But yeah, there is a script, and Wes, the thing I say to people, I'm like, you know what? You use scripts in your life every day. I say, when you go into your next business meeting, don't put your right hand out and shake a hand. Don't do it.
Right.
And see how awkward and different that is. That's a script.
Yep.
Right? It's a script. It's second nature, but it's a script. At some point, when we're 12 and 13 and you go out like with your dad or your uncle or your mother on the first sales call, you're kind of tagging along, they might say, now little Johnny, listen, when you meet Mr. Jones, you reach out and you shake your hand, you introduce yourself.
Right.
That's a script.
Yep.
Small one, but a script all the same. So we use them every day. So this whole thing of I'm unnatural, it's constraining, it's constricting. I won't be focused on the sale. I'll be focused on making sure I'm covering the words you want me to. That's nonsense. It needs to be there. Well,
I remember when I was after being a stockbroker and that ending very abruptly and quite rudely. I was unemployed, had a baby, another on the way. I ended up selling mobile homes in Mobile, Alabama in 1998. And they had a script, man. Back then it was a flip chart, right? A little binder, a little flip chart. And
yep.
Everybody had to come in. All the trailers were locked. You couldn't just roam the lot. And you had to come in and you had to sit through that presentation. And I did it. I didn't question it. I just did it. And 1998 to 99, my $100,000 in the first 12 months.
Wow.
My rent was $365 a month, man. And I'm like, hey, I think the scripting and having a process works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really does. It really does. And here's the thing that I don't get for the folks in my world that I talk to, furniture and mattress owners, their staff can go 3 hours without seeing somebody. During the week, it might be 3 hours till their up comes around. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they doing? They're going through the house cleaning list. They might be checking price tags. They might have another task or duty that they're responsible for. They're checking Facebook. They're thinking about what they're going to do tonight with the kids. And then ding dong, in walks their up. How do you switch from the tasks and the doing where your mind isn't focused on selling? How do you just switch, right? I mean, no athlete jumps from you don't just jump from the bench, catch a 20-yard pass and run in for the touchdown.
Right.
You're warmed up, you're primed, you're in the moment, you're ready to go.
Right.
For us, our scripting and the scripting that we teach to our mattress and furniture folks, it's kind of like grounding and get back to base and get the mind set, where we can dig in and kind of the attitude, the mentality, and the communication with the customer can kind of catch up, but we're still on point and we're still focused from hello.
Right.
And, that's one of the ways that we use it and why we use it. But I like that you kept the trailers locked. That's what we do here. We don't let anybody look at and start laying down on beds till we've had our conversation.
Oh, cool. How do you do that?
So we have a lounge. We have a little customer lounge. We got some coffee and sodas and water and some snacks. And we basically say to folks, look, after our typical greeting, tell me why you're looking for a bed to take. If it's a family, tell me who. Once we get past that initial greeting, which is a script, we say, well, listen, that's great. And I hear exactly what you're saying. And we get that a lot. But, rather than us tell you all about what we'd like to sell you, because we don't even know if we're a fit yet, we'd prefer to sit down in our lounge and we kind of point over to it and we say we prefer to sit down and just have a conversation and see what your sleep needs are and see if our mattresses and products can fulfill that need. Are you open to having that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we get such a high take rate. It's about 8 out of 10. And the other folks that are a little off of it, we say, that's okay. You know what? We can begin, but we're going to, again, we've got 73 beds on display on the floor. Our job is to kind of cut 90% of them right away. And that's when people open up, because they're seeing the same 73 beds that we see, and they just don't know where to begin.
Right. Yeah, because you're always going to have the different personalities. Do you get into like disc profiles and things like that to help your salespeople pick up on buying styles of your visitor?
Officially, no, we don't. I mean, that's one thing that we haven't done. We more work in, when we're talking about profiles, we've just really identified what the customer hates in the purchase, the things that they don't like about buying a bed, and we answer that and put our products and services in that positive light, which in and of itself just positions us, eliminates 7, 8 out of 10 of the competitors out there.
So from a marketing standpoint, what are you doing differently to help ensure your guys on the floor don't go 3 hours between opportunities?
Right. So we're very big on lead generation. So the problem with all mattress and furniture advertising today is it's just for the guys and gals that are looking to buy a bed or a sofa today, right? There's nobody talking to the folks who might wake up this morning with a bad back, but they got to hop out of bed because they're already late for their next sales appointment or doctor's appointment or whatever. But they hop out of bed with a little bit of back pain. So maybe they see our ad in the newspaper, or they're on Facebook waiting in the doctor's office, and they see something from us, and they're directed to get a sleep guide. And we wrote this book. It's called "What's Keeping You Up at Night: Guide to Avoiding 13 Common Mattress Buying Mistakes." And just the subtitle in itself, most people say, I didn't even know there were 13 things I should be thinking about. I thought it was just about price and warranty and coil counts, right. Which are actually the last things you should be looking at. And so they get this book, and we're basically filling that funnel. We're priming the pump for sales opportunities all the time. So they're getting that book, they're digesting it. Our Infusionsoft program is obviously working behind the scenes of that initial opt-in to get the sleep guide. And, we're driving people into the store as time goes on. So that's the biggest one, is lead generation. And then we're now 27 different out-of-place advertising places. So like where we have ads in the Yellow Book under chiropractor and medical devices. We do home shows and expos. We have referral programs. So 27 different places outside of your normal newspaper, radio, print, social media type stuff. 27 other places where we have a little machine working to bring in new sales and new opportunities. So
when you're running this ad, how do they respond? Are you doing just through the internet? Are you having them call and leave their info on a recorded line? Are you doing all the above?
It depends on the medium. But as an example, and I can't believe I did this, as an example for Yellow Book, they call an 800 number. So the first time we went into lead generation, Yellow Book ads, and Yellow Book ads out of our normal category, i.e. mattress and furniture, so those chiropractic ads and medical device ads, I stupidly directed them to the to a website.
Okay.
And the minute I opened it up, I saw it. I'm like, you are the biggest idiot in the world. And I had to sit on that one for a year, right? Because it's Yellow Book.
Yep.
But still, we got a 7-to-1 return on investment on those ads, which isn't bad.
Yep.
That's solid. In our world, we need a minimum of 3.5 for it to work.
Right.
So that worked. This year for 14, the first thing we did is change Changed it. We got them to go to a phone number. Mm-hmm. So now it's call an 800 number, get a special report, which is our sleep guide, and a discount offer, which is a coupon. Okay. So that's the yellow book. It's only one way to respond there. Now in our TV guide ads, the printed TV guide that rides with the Sunday paper, we have 3 ways to respond: phone, internet, and clip the article and mail it back in with your address.
Okay.
And there we get about equally, it's about split about a third: phone, web opt-in, and mail. And the interesting thing about that ad is we run the same ad as a pickup in the newspaper. We don't get a single person in the Run of Space newspaper. We don't get a single opt-in from there. Wow. We get them all from that Sunday TV guide ad, which just tells us that we don't do any more Run of Space print because it just doesn't work for us anymore.
Do you think that's your industry, or do you think just people in general are not as responsive to those types of ads?
I think it depends. I don't have the answer that you asked for. I think the newspaper works in any industry, but you need to be very aware of who your audience is.
Right.
So for us, our core customer is that right square in the middle baby boomer to senior. Okay. So for them, they still live and die by the newspaper. There's, as evidenced by our TV guide opt-ins, right?
Yep.
So they still like and enjoy and use the newspaper.
Yep.
If we were, running a business where we fixed your broken Apple products and tablets and computers, we wouldn't be in the newspaper.
Right.
Okay. So you need to be very honest with yourself and have a good understanding of who your customer is. And then take it one step further and say, okay, now that I know who, and our 4 ladies, I know them by name: Charlotte, Lorelei, Lynn, and Valerie. Those 4 ladies are all customers of ours. Then I ask, well, what does their day look like, and what advertising are they looking at? Are they spending their time online? Are they reading the paper? Do they read books? Would they rather listen to audio? And if it's audio, is it on their phone, MP3, or is it on a CD? And, so we have a pretty clear picture of what those folks are doing and how they're absorbing it. And that's a lot of people, maybe listening to this understand that who is the who conversation, but they don't go that one step further and say, okay, now what are they using?
Right. So, you spent time on personas, right? That's what these 4 ladies' names are.
Yep.
And then was that what you brought to the table with Ben? Did he understand the need for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then how much time did you spend, though, before you really nailed those 4 personas?
Oh, that's a good question.
And why 4? Why not 1 or 2 or 7?
Well, because the 4 really kind of identified themselves. And as we worked through each of those individual sales, we were seeing things that we said about those customers. Wow, we really want to replicate this customer. If we could have all these 4 ladies come in, Charlotte, Lynn, Loralee, and Valerie, if we could have all 4 of them come in every day, wouldn't life be grand? Life would be awesome if we could have these 4 types of customers in our store every day. So that's why we really focused in on them. They're all except Lorelei are boomers. Lynn is very conscious about family first, her needs second. And the other 2 they've arrived. They've spent a lot of time being that sidekick or the breadwinner in the family, the sidekick to the husband or the breadwinner. But they've arrived. They've put their time in. They've earned everything they have. And now is their time in life to enjoy things. So we focused in on that and we said, we got to replicate. And we just really paid attention to that sale. And we even went and interviewed them and asked them things about our business, what attracted them to us, where could we have done better, where did we do great, all the questions you should be asking in that conversation. And we just go right after that core customer.
So how did you set that up, interviewing past clients? I know a lot of people are hesitant to do that. They're hesitant to ask for referrals and testimonials. Yeah. How did you make the interviews happen?
Well, it's simple. You just ask. I mean, that's the thing. That goes back to like kind of the beginning of our conversation. You gotta sell good stuff and deliver good work and good products. Okay. Because if you're not doing that, in my opinion, that's probably one of the main reasons why you're afraid to ask somebody about, hey, can I take you out to lunch and just pick your brain about why you chose to do business with me?
Right.
Because if you're afraid to do that, why? Well, maybe they're unhappy. Well, why are they unhappy? That's a breakdown in and of itself, that you don't know your customers are out there unhappy. So you got to you ask because you deliver good things. So we just asked, and a couple of them came to the store. A couple of them, we took them out to dinner or lunch rather, grab a cup of coffee. And like I said, we just asked them about the whole process, walked through from start to finish. But you just simply ask. And I know it's maybe uncomfortable, but think about the questions, write down your 5 questions, 10 questions, and frame the conversation in that mindset or goal of identifying your perfect customer. Who is your who? What do you want? What are the characteristics of that perfect customer? And then ask your questions around that. And it makes it very simple.
Right.
Very simple to do.
You mentioned earlier in your sales process, you have, a 27-point presentation or 27 points you want your salespeople to get across during that meeting?
Yep.
How did you come up with those? I mean, that's pretty extensive. And then how long have you had 27? Has that been pretty solid, or is it kind of evolving?
The sleep assessment, as we call it, which is the script behind the scenes, that evolved originally to about 30 questions, and we recently revised it and took a few out because we just found them to be redundant. So the sleep assessment evolved in and of itself in kind of like loose sales training between Ben, myself, and our staff. But finally, we just said, you know what, we've got to do something different with our customers, and have a different process. And that process now is utilizing the lounge and the sleep assessment. Before, it was just simply we're training to ask the bulk of those questions and not all of them. But then we put it on paper, and we really defined the process and the questions in black and white. And now we just, they're on a clipboard. We go over it, and we weave those questions in to the conversation that we have with our customers.
So how much time are you and Ben in the store, on the, visible, walking the floor versus behind the scenes, a little out of the way, more focus on marketing, if you will?
I would say we are on the floor about 10% of the time and working on the business 90% of the time.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So you've got a store manager, I take it, that runs things?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have an official title of that, but we have John as our operations manager. He kind of handles all of our back-end purchasing and, systems stuff. Pete is growing into our role as sales manager. We really kind of train everybody to kind of fill that autonomous, self-managed role. And if you don't fit that role, you're not going to last long with us.
Right. So that brings up a great point. If with all this structure, which most salespeople bristle at when they hear it, how has this impacted your ability to recruit and retain top people?
Yeah. Well, I heard something interesting at a conference I was at for the furniture trade just a couple of weeks back. And they don't see it when they first come in for the interview, but they hear about it. So when they hear about or see a business that's kind of kicking their butt when they're somewhere else, or they've asked around and they hear, hey, Gardner's is a great place, and they have a lot of satisfied customers, they're attracted to that. And the whole structure stuff we don't really talk about that in our first initial interviews, but we do bring it up as time goes on in the process. I I don't know that we've ever gotten any direct pushback from a new hire, but if it were, I would just say, well, what would you do different? And if I would get the answers of, well, I prefer to be a little more loose, a little more off the cuff, I would just reply to that and say, well, as long as you're willing to accept a paycheck from me every 2 weeks that's loose and off the cuff, I'm okay with that. Because that's not the way this works. Money does not follow loose, right, and off the cuff, or off the cuff rather. Sorry. So yeah, we have this structure, but again, it's all meant to make the sales process and the interaction easy. Because I think as all sales, even seasoned salespeople deal with a certain level of fear and uneasiness, right?
Sure.
I'm sure, you, even as the sales whisperer, right? You've probably been into some pretty big, you've dealt with some Fortune 500, even 100 companies, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And you didn't just stroll into those meetings, at 100%, confidence, I'm sure. And you don't, if I'm revealing a secret here, I'm sorry. But, I think everybody has a little bit of fear and pressure when they're going through the day. And this structure is designed to help our staff handle it, to help our staff go from, the tasks of the day that they're responsible to do and answer that up with confidence and get out of the starting blocks right. That's what it's designed for. So it's not meant for us to fulfill our wishes of micromanaging. It's really designed for their benefit and ours.
And have you seen lower turnover because of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've put it this way. In the 3 years, we've had not one person that we've hired quit. We had one carryover from the old location. But the people that we've hired, which are 6, they're all with us.
Nice. So your business is kind of niche, in the going after baby boomers, but what would you say are some other things you're doing that other businesses can do as far as marketing, to grow their business, even though they may not be going after that same market segment? Are any tips or tricks, little nuggets you've learned along the way that work across any industry or any age demographic?
Yeah. I would say the single biggest one would be, 2. First one would be you need a system to manage your clients, prospects, and leads. And take this as you want as a listener of a commercial for, automation and CRMs. And I know, Wes, you're an Infusionsoft expert. We use that same system. But whatever system you use, both Wes and I feel Infusionsoft has its merits for certain reasons, and they're good ones. But you need a system, because without it, you're just going to let things fall through the cracks, and that gets very, very, very expensive. Very fast, especially if you're delivering any kind of intangible, where it's membership-based, solutions-based. If you're positioning yourself as to be this source week over week, month over month, and you let it slide for 2 weeks because you were too busy, that's a bad thing when you're selling solutions and software. So the system is very important. Tied into that, lead generation from an advertising standpoint would be the single biggest thing you can do, because you have to build your list and control your own leads. The whole branding and awareness conversation, is so fleeting anymore today, right? When something blows up on Twitter. Well, if you're on Facebook and Twitter's blowing up, you're out of commission for the day. Lead generation is the lifeblood of our business, because with that system and with the leads in the pipeline, we can turn on promotions, turn them off, really at the push of a button. And you've got to have that. You've got to have a lead generation component. So, I don't know who all comprises the bulk of your listenership, Wes, but if you're an automotive guy, there's a way to do lead generation. If you're a restaurant, there's ways to do lead generation. It exists and it's there. And it doesn't need to take over your whole ad. Simply make it a part of the ad for those that aren't exactly interested in coming into your business today, but maybe next week. And you'll see your leads begin to increase significantly.
So on these ways, I mean, did you just learn this trial by fire? Did you hire consultants to help shorten your learning curve? I mean, what would you recommend our listeners do to perfect their own lead generation processes?
Yeah. Well, it certainly wouldn't shoot from the hip, just like I don't suggest to shoot from the hip on, your sales choreography and processes in your store. You need to learn. You need to read books, home study courses, get a coach, get a mentor, because it's just, again, it's just not as easy as opening up a business and putting an open sign up. There's a lot of tactics that go behind it, and you need to understand who the customer is, how they're going to absorb your information, what the trigger points are to get them to come in, when to come in, what to offer, and ultimately then to convert that sale. So you really need to study. I've invested, it's got to be approaching at this point now close to $200,000 in the last 5-6 years in products, services, coaches, in this whole world of advertising and marketing, and it's paid off significantly.
So would you say that's kind of the argument against those that say it's too expensive? I mean, I know I've spent a ton of money as well, and in the beginning, it was tough.
Oh yeah.
But as I look back, I mean, the more I've spent, the more I've earned.
Yep.
And even in the beginning, like I'm about to start a 7-week sales training course called The Art of the Close, and it's modeled after how I got started. It was one of the first things I bought was a $600 program. It was a 12-week sales training course back then, but I didn't. I wasn't struggling. I mean, I wasn't broke, but I wasn't rich, and $600. Like, oh wow, my company wouldn't pay for it. I was an employee at the time, but I did it.
Right.
And looking back, it's like, 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago, I did that. It's like, little did I know that was laying the foundation for what I have today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would say you got to take that leap, but take that leap with this in mind. If you're going to invest in something, and you should, everybody should always be investing in self to do better. But if it's a struggle, if you're like Wes, me, the first product I bought was $1,200, and it was a little iffy if I should be doing this. I was a little scared. Did it make sense? I didn't exactly have $1,200 just laying around to go dump somewhere. But whatever you're going to do, ask yourself: is this thing that I'm going to invest in? Is this going to pay off the fastest for me? So if you're a sales guy and it's a 7-week program on the art of the close, I would say that's probably the fastest way to the cash if you're struggling with closing. If you're a sales guy and you're that A-type architect engineer guy and you really turn off a lot of people because of that, and you can't relate, I would say you need to invest in a product on, personality and openings and greetings, so think about it in that respect. What am I investing in? Does this make sense for me that I can learn it, implement it, and make it profitable for myself? And then build from there. Turn that $600 into $10,000, and then you can spend $1,500 on the next thing.
Right. Amen. Well, what are some parting words of wisdom you'd have for our listeners?
Parting words of wisdom from Jeff Giagnocavo. That's like, never been said ever. No, I'm just kidding.
I will pause the recording, give you a minute to compose yourself. Go ahead, Google a few inspiring quotes. Okay, yeah. All right, you ready? All right, and we're back.
I'm ready, yeah. I would say here's one thing I get a lot. And again, just at this prior to the call, Wes and I were talking about what we were doing lately, and I said I was out in Ohio at one of Dan Kennedy's events. And there I get a lot, man, you guys are doing so much. How do you do it? What's your secret? And here it is. It's implement. You've got all the ideas in the world are worth zero. Wes, that course you bought for $600. If you didn't open it up and it was still wrapped in the cellophane on your shelf, that'd be worth zero, right? Yep. You got to open the stuff up, and you've got to read the book, do the home study course, do the modules, whatever it is. And even if it arrives and it's overwhelming, pick one part of it, read it, study it, put it to action, implement it. Even if it's just one thing. And that's what a lot of your top level guys in any niche, from the Trumps of the world, back in history, the P.T. Barnums of the world, that's what those guys did. That's what I do. That's what my business partner Ben does. We get at a minimum something one time a day done for our business that's going to move us forward. Some days that one thing's more profitable than the next, but it doesn't matter. The compounding result of that, you begin to get big time momentum. So implement something each and every day, and it'll pay off. It'll start to spin very fast and be very profitable for you.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing there, that compounding effect. Because sometimes you feel like you really haven't done anything, but there's some days where just standing your ground is a victory.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just take pride that you didn't retreat.
Yep. Yeah, because that retreat. Now we're going back to that fear conversation, and when you can feel confident and standing ground, and you're doing something right.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yep. And well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom. I mean, your business, you've got a coaching business, but it's really niche to mattress type companies. So, I mean, you don't even have anything for all of our listeners to really participate in. But for those in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, they can visit GardnersMattressandMore.com, right?
That's correct. Yeah. And I mean, I would say for everybody listening, if I'm a fit to sell you a bed, fine. But you know what? If you're listening to this call, it means you're a smart person. I always pay attention to what other smart people are doing in their marketing. Go to our website, get our guide, and just observe what we're doing with, how we communicate to you thereafter. Check that stuff out. That'll be a nice little learning lesson. And my hope, you took the time to listen to me, listen to Wes today. I hope I can give you back something there. You can pick up a nugget or two out of what we communicate. But go there and check it out and see what we're doing. Yeah, especially if money is tight. Dan Kennedy, right, he's big on swipe and deploy. Oh yeah, that's gee whiz. Look at what Jeff's doing. Pay attention to it, regardless of your industry, and think, what can you glean from that to help your business grow? And then if you're in the area, even if you're not, get a big truck, drive out there and buy a mattress from Jeff, right? Tell him Wes sent you. That's right. Absolutely. How's that? That sounds great. I like it. I like the big truck part because that implies like 3 or 4. Buy them for the whole family. Yep. Family deal. Very cool. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking the time. No problem, Wes. Thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, man. Have a great day. You too. That's some good stuff right there, Maynard. What did I tell you? Go back and listen again, like I always recommend, and take more notes. He starts out saying, he is the anti-mattress store, right? So his typical competitors are sloppy, right? He mastered direct response marketing. He created personas. He knows exactly who he's selling to and why they buy. Okay, so he's still using things like the yellow pages, but he's got very tight sales scripting or sales choreography. I love how he said, if you want me to pay you loose and randomly and shooting from the hip, then you can sell that way. So by raising his level of expectation of his salespeople, he's brought in better people and he's had more stability. Go back and listen to how little turnover he's had in the last 6 years. It's amazing. He's running out-of-place ads, 27 different out-of-place ads. So what that means is
like in Southwest Magazine, Spirit Magazine, right? I'll see an ad for cigars, so some might say, well, that's out of place. It's just this airline magazine. But they know their personas. They know there are business men flying. We're on trips. We go golfing. A lot of us smoke cigars. So place your ads where your typical buyers are reading. Okay, it's a fantastic idea. It's why there's a high-end jewelry store. There's a lady that goes to these auctions for horses, right? Thoroughbreds. And so she knows people are there spending a lot of money on horses, so they might also spend a lot of money on jewelry, and she's killing it. So that would be an example of advertising or displaying in an out-of-place area. So he's got 27 of those going on. Still gets a 7-to-1 ROI in the yellow book with an 800 number versus a local number. So a lot of things you can learn here. This interview was a little bit longer than normal, but, Jeff just had so much to share. So check out what he's doing. Visit them online at gardnersmattressandmore.com to understand what he's doing. But listen, too, he talked about how he invested in himself. He's invested at least $200,000 in the last 5 to 6 years in sales and marketing training. So it's early September. I've got The Art of the Close. The Art of the Close.guru is about to launch on the 16th of September. And then I'm rolling out Market Like a Man right behind that. So check out those two programs, marketlikeaman.com, and get ready. If you want to grow, if you want to take these lessons I've been covering and get live interaction to discuss this in a group setting, then you're going to want to enroll in both of those programs. So get busy. Let's go make some money, all right? In the meantime, please feel free to share this, invite others to listen in, share it with your friends and family and coworkers. And as always, remember to sell different.